Okay, you devils, how we doing today? It's Friday. It's the 5th of April, and we did the polling here this morning. So now, typically we do Bitcoin on Friday, but I know, well, certainly for members, you've got just some great TA from Grandmaster Quan in the last 24 hours, and I know some of you are still going through that webinar. So since you've got a lot to chew on there for both the bull and the bear side of things, we kind of set up a poll here today, and first up, it's not surprising, first up was Ethereum. We're not going to do Bitcoin, we'll look at Ethereum here. So I've got Ethereum and then OMG coming to the dollar as well. But we'll start here with Ethereum. So a couple of obvious things here, right? So members, you've seen this chart. I posted this a few times. So this is my primary count here, and we can see some obvious things, right? We just tagged an algo target. We've got some median lines here. But just a quick review on my count here that I have it. So I've got us going into a 1 here. And then an A, B, we get an expanded B wave here, taking out the wave 1 high. I got 5 coming down here for an ABC into my 2, and then from that going 1, 2, and then it looks like we're still in the midst of the 3rd. So here, of course, you guys know this, right? Whether you're YouTube or members, right? So we get a golden corner pocket right there, right? This on a couple exchanges it broke by a couple of ticks, but obviously they stayed with it here. So we go golden zone. All right, do we have to wonder what happened there? I don't think we do. Okay, so we know what happened there. So algos get their target in immediate reaction, right? That's how we know it's an algorithm. So you got to look at the count here, and we dig in. Now this is open to some interpretation. It's very possible this could get relabeled, and I'll show you why I say that. So digging in here, the subdivision is it's a bit of a stretch here to get this to play. So, there is a count here that can work. And here's what's key. So since we've got this already identified, let me pull this off here so we can look at this other bit here. Right, so there's not a lot to work with there, but I can get a 1 wave here. And why that's interesting to me is, and as a candidate, is that if this is our 1, look what happens here is the proposed 4. Coincidental? Maybe. But I can get a count here that works. So I can go 1, 2, 3, A, B, C into the 4. We just spare the overlap here. And then I can go 1, 2. Yeah, it's long enough. I checked it, right? So we get the extension in the 5th. Let me get that right on it. So I can get an impulse here. It's kind of a short and squatty one. So if you look at that symmetry, it's not great, right? I'd be the first to tell you that is some ugly symmetry for an impulse. Yet there it is, right? So what? Let's see if I can move that. Can I get it? Ah, shit. That's what I'm trying to get, right? So you look at that and you go, oh, come on, man. 1, 2, the 4 compared to the 2. I hear you, man. It's not great. So there's not another way to get a count that works in here. Now, here's where there's a very real possibility that this gets relabeled. Let me pull back out here. So the reason I'm trying to work an impulse into that is because if we've gone 1, 2, and it would appear that there's a reasonable case now that we can get an impulse in this 3rd. Well, now it has you thinking, well, if I've got an impulse in the 3rd, I can't get an ABC here because I'm counting on the 4 overlapping in the diagonal. So it's very possible that we could be relabeling here. Come here. So we could be going like this. We could be going A, B, C into a 1, A, well, B, C, something along those lines, into the 2, and then we could be going A, B, C into the 3 here. Well, in order to get that count, which it appears as though the symmetry would be better for that. Well, we're completely dependent on the overlap here, right, to call this a diagonal. So if this is 1, 2, and this is going to play as a diagonal, well, that's for bulls, that's good news because that implies that we're just putting in the 1 wave here of the 3rd wave rather than 1, 2 going into the 3. So until that's overlapped, we kind of got to work with what we've got here, which is kind of the squatty body one, you know, yeah, right? I mean, at some point, you know, they all break down, but that's a bit of a stretch. So what do you do, right? So if I open this up, there's definitely, if I go to a 30-minute, there's definitely an impulse in here. So I can go 1, 2, 3, you know, kind of same problem, right? So where's your subdivision there? Maybe you've got to put it as a truncated C. It's not great, right? They all break down at some point. But the overall structure here would look like I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can get my 5 here to give me so relative to this 1, again, my squatty 1, if this is 1, 2, and that's the 3, well, now it looks like I'm in my 4, and so here would be the key pivot. Are we going to overlap? Well, this may be a bit of a tell. So here's the C relative to what's happening here. So it looks like we've gone straight down into an A wave, very common. So here's the algo target reaction, straight down. Now we've done a little 3 wave here, and there's actually a nice little 5 in the 3. All right, so if we're going, let me open that up. So you can see here, there's a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the B wave here. So you'd be trading this as ABC. So coming from the low, we've gone A, B, and C. We got a clean impulse in the C. Now, could you be relabeling? I mean, it's possible that we've got this, right? So there's always going to be an alternate that you have to keep in mind, right? So it's blessing of the curse of Elliott Wave. Either you love it or you hate it. The reality is we don't know that we haven't just done this, ABC, because I've got an impulse here. But that said, it appears to me more, well, here's the tell. So I still think we've got the B here because the subdivision actually will play better. So let me show you what I mean. So bulls, as I actually want the overlap here because that tells me that I've just got a leading diagonal in the 1 of the 3rd. So here's what I'm keying off of. So remember, there's an algorithm on both sides. So just pulling from this straight down into the A, what do we do? Right to the golden zone. Right, so the fact that I can get an ABC right into an algo pivot, well, that's not insignificant. Okay, so now that doesn't mean that this is guaranteed to hold. It just means that I've got something that's technically of significance here. Now we could blow right through it, right? And that you could end up calling the 4 in here with a truncated C. It's possible, but right now that I wouldn't be relying on that. I think this fits better, but take note of where that target is. So if this algorithm is going to get its target here, that's going to give me the overlap of the 1. So that puts the 4 way down here, the C way down here. Now, again, as I've said many times, just because we have an algorithm in play here does not guarantee that it makes its target. It's just we can identify the footprint of an algorithm. That's all it's telling us. We know software, you can see the little reaction at the 50. They kick it in at the golden zone. They're going to stay short until they get that target or they get stopped out here, right? It's one or the other. Well, of course, we've got it working on both sides here. So from this 2 to the proposed 3, well, here's the 50. So we've got a little fib fight, right? So we know, well, you can look here and say, well, straight move down. That's unbelievable. So the first rip down goes to perhaps a slight front run here on the golden zone from the 2. So if it's 1, 2, 3, straight rip down goes to the golden zone. Reaction to the next golden zone. Where are we anticipating that to go? Well, so if it gets there, then I have a lot more confidence in where I am in this count. If I get that. Now I'm relabeling this. Now I'm going ABC, ABC, ABC into the 3, ABC, deep 4. I know it's deep, right? You don't, it's deeper. Like, so if you were scripting a diagonal, you wouldn't prefer to see the 1 go that, or pardon me, the 4 go that deep. So if you remember in a 4, we're always, or pardon me, in a diagonal, we're looking for a technical reaction between the start of the 1, the pivot of the 3. Well, now look where that sets us up, right? That's about as far as you'd want to see that go to maintain some probability here in the idea that we're going to have a kick out of that and go towards an upside. So so it gives you just a beautiful potential entry here because the risk reward is so good. So now nothing says we're going there, right? Just because it's there doesn't mean that we must go there. But in terms of the setup, I mean, I can't script them any better than that. right? So we have a count that's unclear because of the essentially the three-wave structure here. So your bias is now you kind of want that to overlap here, even though, like, as I'm bullish, I long term, I obviously want higher prices. But the technical setup here in terms of a new trade, so if you're not in or if you're looking for a place to add, that's about as good as it can get. So look what we get here. So we have potentially now golden zone. So you can see how, so we get golden zone goes to target. Come down here, golden zone. Do we go to target? Well, we don't know yet. We got to wait and see. If we're going to have a little sell-off here, right, likely this would take place over the weekend. You don't know, but that we often get volatility over the weekend. So if this is going to come down that hard, then you got to think about, well, what's Bitcoin doing? Is Bitcoin ultimately going to sell off a bit more and create this kind of downdraft across the crypto space where the majors are going to go with it, right? So it's not that far. So where are we sitting here? 161. What's interesting here, we're hovering around this prior pivot. So we're sitting here at let's call it 164.5, and we're trying to get long down here at 143. It's $20, right? So it's so good that I think you really have to consider that. Now you do have, just because we've got that here, we've got this in play as well. So the 50 will be in play there. That's more commonly where you'd find the fourth in a diagonal. Right, so again, just because this is here doesn't mean we must go there, but we're really keying off of this pivot. So all I need is a one tick break, and then I'm relabeling here, and then I have more confidence in where we are, but I can't get it. If we pivot at this upper sloping parallel in the 50, which is a very real possibility, we could pivot right there, essentially do a double bottom here. If we don't overlap here, if we don't get that, and we bounce here, and this takes us up, well, the target hasn't moved. Just as valid. It just means we're going to have to stick with this squatty one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's ugly. I know. A, B. So 1, 2. That impulse is solid. Yeah, there's not much subdivision in the 4, but I can. The basic structure of it is an impulse. I've got nice complexity here if this is going to be a pivot that holds and we come down. Now, somewhere down here is the next entry. So you might. It's not a disaster. It's not like, oh shit, man, if we pivot here, well, all bullishness is thrown out the window. If we pivot here, it's absolutely perfect here. Right? So, it's kind of a weird thing to be bullish, to be long, and you're wanting lower prices, but what it does is it clarifies where we are in the count just a little bit better. Now, we're trying to thread the needle here. So, keep that in mind. So ideally, you'd want to at least see a revisit here to the 50 in terms of the entry. So maybe a partial here, and if we're gonna get a second test, we're gonna get to that target, maybe a second entry here because you can put the stop so tightly there, right? So, what are we talking about? So 51 to what's the target's at 43. So again, it's this $8 range there you've got, so you could fatten the whole thing up and say, here's my buy zone. Hard not to like it, right? So just here, we've got the 50 and the upper sloping median line. Here, I've got an algo target in the golden zone. So I like both of them. They're both equally good. Same target for both. So if we get up there, now of course, we may not be doing it out there. Shit, we could be doing it by Monday. We could be doing it by tomorrow. You just don't know. But what that does is it gives us more confidence in this low, which in turn gives us more confidence in this low. So right now, the 1, 2 looks pretty solid. Golden zone went right to target, but I've got a reaction. Likely, we're not done here with the 3. Well, assuming it is a 3 and we're not ABC, right? Of course, that's what a bear is looking at, thinking, oh, it's all just corrective and we're going back down. Now, that's certainly a possibility. We can't discount that, but that's not what I see here. So is that an alternate? Of course, got to keep an alternate. We've got to be prepared to be wildly wrong. That's just welcome to trading. You've got to be prepared for that. We don't know where we're going. But we can use the Elliott Wave and this roadmap here to create probability zones. So right now I get a big fat probability zone here. But that doesn't mean we're going there, that we must go there, or that there's not another way that this could resolve. It just means I've got some potentially some trade opportunities here. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not the buy of the decade. It's a trade, right? What's the risk reward? Oh, looks friendly. Okay, good. Can I make more than I lose? Right? Maybe 3 times as much? Absolutely. Is the pattern there? Is there technical confluence? Is the geometry supportive of it? Right, that's all, right? It's okay, just another trade. It's not, oh shit, I've got to get the exact right entry and then I'm going to hold for the next 4 years. It's just another trade, guys. Just another trade. I think sometimes we put too much weight into, oh shit, where's the perfect entry? I've got to get it just right. That's what I think, that's what I think is going to happen, but I don't know. Shit, we could be down here. Nobody knows, right? So as I remind you, if someone's telling you they know where it's going, turn and run because they're full of shit. They're trying to sell you something. Nobody knows. So what do we do in that environment? That's all you get. It's probability zones and money management and risk control. That's it. That's trading. That's the essence of it. If you don't like the Elliott Wave, I have no problem with that, right? I don't insist on it. I'm not an absolute purist to where I have to have the wave count. As I often will tell people, it's not the most important thing. What's most important? The algo swings. What's next? Market geometry. Last, in terms of the priorities that I would tell you and that we teach you within Trade Devils University, Elliott Wave, it's just another tool, right? It helps organize the chaos. That's all. It's not a crystal ball. Never has been proposed to be such. A lot of people, when they first are learning it, think, oh shit, well now that I know this, well now I know exactly where the market's going. No, you don't. Nope, nobody does. So that's all you get. Just probabilities, right? Which is all I ever propose to you here. It's just probability zones. I'm wrong all the time. Every trader that is honest with you is going to tell you that they're wrong more than they're right. It's just the nature of the game. You're going to be wrong more than you're right. If you can't get your head around that and come to and be at peace with that, you should not be trading. If your expectation is to be right more than you're wrong, you got the wrong mindset, my friend. It's not going to happen. It's not. Right? So you got to accept that and make peace with that and go, okay, well, so what does that mean? Well, what does it mean? It means I've got to make more than I lose because I'm going to lose way more than I win. It's simple math. That's it. Right? So if I can create a probability zone here, knowing that the odds are I'm going to get stopped out here. I'm going to lose money here. That's what the odds tell me. But that doesn't have me hesitating here. I trade aggressively. I get into that zone. I don't even blink. I'm already long, or I've got an order sitting there, right? So I trade because I'm not worried about blowing up my account. Right? Again, it doesn't matter what we're trading, right? Ultimately, success or failure comes down to your risk control. This is a game of risk control, and ultimately money management, so that when you're right, you get the maximum return, as opposed to what most traders do when they're new. Well, you guys know this, right? It's you let the loser go, oh shit, oh no, I think I got to move that stop down a little bit. Oh, well, it's not going to take out that low. Well, now it's just we're not going to take out the absolute low, right? Right? We've all done it. I've done it more times than I care to remember. It's okay. I just got to give it a little more breathing room. It's just a head fake. No, we're not going down. Right? It happens all the time, every day. People write me every day, and that's the situation. I want to learn how to do this correctly. Well, it's not about the wave structure. That's not what makes the difference. It's the discipline to take the loser. Take the small loser before it turns into a big loser. But what's the flip side of that? When you're right, you got to get max gain out of it, because you're going to be wrong so many more times. So the first time that you pop up here, so here's a good example. All right, so let's say we get up here and we get to this algo target. What have we done there? What have we done? Well, just for the sake of discussion, if we complete that there, what have we got? Well, could be the third. What if we overlap here? Now I don't have a third. So do you see how the Elliott Wave is reducing the probability there. So if this overlaps here, if we get this, and I've got a diagonal here, then I don't think I've got a third. Now, could I be wrong? Of course. Of course. But what's more probable? I've just completed the one of the three, which influences where the next buy opportunity is. Am I buying the next 38? Probably not. Where am I looking for it? Well, where's the high probability zone for it too? Between the 50 and the 618. So it affects where I'm looking to enter into the next trade. If this completes up here and I don't get the overlap, now I've got a candidate for the third, but it's a little shy. So I still could have 1, 2, 1, 2, but I'm not sure now, right? Because it could be either one. 1, 2, 1, 2. Nothing says that's a 3. So then what do you do? Well, then you start saying, well, what are the odds? What is the probability that that's my third? Well, I can just look at what are the historical tendencies? What are the norms? Well, there's 100%. So I'd just be breaking 100% right here. So I have a candidate for the third. Nothing more. Nothing says that can't be the 1, 2 of a larger 3, but it's a candidate. So what happens next? Well, if it's a candidate, if I get up to this algo target, maybe that's the 3. Maybe that's the 3 of the 1 of the next degree. You're not going to know until you see what follows. Then, once you get that information, now that's reinforcing the prior set of swings, which is reinforcing the prior and the prior. Right? Do you understand here, guys? We can't say whether that's a 3 or a 1. No way to know. It qualifies as both. Now, here's where the Elliott's helpful. If we overlap here, can't be the 3. Must be the 1. Right? Now, it still could be A, B, C. Do you follow me there? So this still could be A, B. We could finish with a diagonal up here. This could be a C. So we could get an ABC here right before we go all the way back down. Nothing preventing that from happening. Money management, discipline, probabilities. That's the name of the game. One other thing I did notice here, which I thought was kind of interesting. If this is my 1 here of my larger degree, and I just go up to take the 1. So we're always looking for confluence if we can find it. If this is the length of my 1, well, of course I want to project up for where the possible third is. Well, if I take that as my 2 and I bring this right over, look what we just did. Right, so remember we had the golden corner pocket. So look at this confluence here. Get that right on there. Okay, is that tight enough for you? 1, 2. So what do we have here? Could this be, right? 1, 2, 3. Well, it's made 100%. No, can't be. The subdivision doesn't support it. So the 3's not done. Well, could we go up here, right, to the 1, 6, 1, 8? A, B, C? Absolutely. Then the whole thing is potentially set up to go all the way back down. How would you know? Can't know. You don't know. You're only going to know based on what happens at the next retracement. That's the only way to know with any certainty. There is no certainty, guys. No certainty, only probabilities. Right? So this I thought was kind of interesting that we had this confluence point here. And then if I'm not mistaken, there was a pivot up here that we were running into at the same time. That's the 50, so I thought we were right. One of these, yeah, it could have been this one here. One of these, we were just right smack dab in the middle of it, right? So you've got to test all of them. This puts us, so we get some additional confluence here. Now, I don't know, so what are we pulling off of here, right? So is it this? Is it this? This is the dominant here, right? Which implies that there's more upside here. So here's the 50. So here's the front run on the 50. Now, we've not quite gotten to that golden zone here, which I know it's getting to be a little tough to see here. But look, we've got this algo target. Do you see that? Do you see that algo target there? This green line right here, which is tied to this. Right, so that algo target, let me see if I can do this. Tees up right there. All right, so here's the green edge. Right, well, fuck. Can I get it? Here, I'll pull that off. Get this. Do you see that right there? Okay, and then I've got this one right here, if I can get it. All right, so that one right there. Okay, so that's right on top of the 65. So if this is going to go 1, 2, and we're going to get an impulse here, then I've got the candidate. I've got a possible candidate here for a third of this degree or a third of the next degree, right? So take note. Well, see, I've got them in the, here, I should make this bigger. Let me go up a degree there to minuet. Okay, so I've got a candidate, could be the third of this degree in white, could be the third of this degree in green. See how that would play? So, and you don't know what's what, right? You aren't going to know until you see the 4. What happens here? 3, 4, do we get another leg up? If we do, then we know where we are, right? So now what? Now, if I go 1, 2, and this ends up being my 3 over here of the larger degree. So 4, 5 of the third. Right now, as a bull, that's obviously what we're hoping for. Right, all the subdivision, all plays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 3. Now, what happens here? Do we get another 4, 5? Right, so we're just it's just a roadmap. It's just a possible roadmap. So this is what the bulls are looking for. Right, all of that just off of this pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the subdivision has to be there. I got an impulse here. I got a correction here. What do I have here? Don't know yet. Doesn't mean don't take the trade. Here's your roadmap as to how we're going to get up there. There's 265, call it. That's the way to get there. So then again, I know there's a lot of shit on here, but then you just start putting some structure to it. Okay, well, obviously there's this kind of thing happening. So I've got some sort of big channel here, and I look here. Well, that's kind of interesting. Look how these two are right along the channel. So where are we going? How far are we going? Right, there's a roadmap to 265. Now, is that how it's going to go? Well, it could, certainly could. Right, that would be the ideal path. But first up, let's see what happens here. Right, all we know is we're just in a fib fight. We need some resolution. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the weekend. All right, oh shit, I went a little long there. Right, so I know. Here's the thing, guys. Right, so this is a skill set that you develop with time and practice, right? So of course, now I just did this so I can look at this and see it. Now, if you're staring at that on YouTube or you're a member looking at that, well, if you're a member, you're going to have this chart. So you're going to be able to go back through it and see if you can recreate it. See if you get a similar count, right? If you're on YouTube, well, you know, that's what the whole university is about. That's what the belt system is about, taking you through how to do this on each level. Right, and then testing you so you don't go, oh yeah, I got it. Okay, great. I'm good to go now. Nope, we're gonna make sure you got it. Right, that's why they're not easy to pass. Right, and they get progressively harder. Right, that's for your benefit, not for ours. All right, guys, be back to you in a little bit.